Let me take you back to the year 2005. George W. Bush made us watch his drive into a second term as a massive hurricane was ready to slam the US. YouTube, the place you're watching at this very moment, started, and a single PC game released that changed the way I look at games forever, and that game was called Fate. Fate is an action RPG published by Wild Tangent in 2005 to very high praise for delivering well on a concept that is not ambitious, but is well known for being fun and addictive. To the 9-year-old me, the fact that dungeons could generate off of nothing and be different every time blew my mind. Now, this concept is commonplace in many games today, not just RPGs, but for the time it was very advanced. Not only that, but any character you could create could have different stats, abilities, and even an identity. The stories and gameplay were infinite in this regard. I could spend literal hours talking about this game and all the stories I had growing up playing it. With the 20th anniversary of this iconic series happening this year, and a remaster of the whole series for modern machines right around the corner as well, what better time to look back on the game that started it all? Fate starts off like any other RPG does, diving into the best part, character creation. Now bear in mind, this doesn't have your Dark Souls or Elder Scrolls level of creative freedom, but the options given are still pretty diverse. Not only that, but if you can't think of a name, you could just click random names and see what you get. What's also interesting about Fate is that you also get a choice of pet, being a dog or a cat. They have the same base stats, so this purely comes down to an aesthetic choice, but more on the pet system later. After you create your character, you get introduced to the world in possibly the most epic intro my 9-year-old self could fathom. Since oldest living memory, the dungeon gate has stood in the heart of the old wood. Its doorway leads to infinite possibility, to subterranean lands fabled in stories and myths. Many adventurers have passed over that ancient threshold, some to find fame, glory, and wealth beyond telling, and others never to return. The town of Grove has ever been the safe haven at the dungeon's mouth, a watering hole and resting place for weary adventurers. Here, great tales are told by the inn's fire, journeys are planned, and legacies are made. Minstrels sing of the great feats of heroes long gone, and statues ring the square, a testament to their deeds. After traveling many hard and dusty days, you and your faithful companion arrive at last in the fabled forest town, which waits beneath the long shadow of the gate. Within these walls lies the path to infinite adventure. It is here that you will test your worth, and perhaps find fortune and glory along the way. It is here that you will determine your fate. Nowadays, it comes off extremely basic, but it still holds up to me and is a great way to introduce the world you're about to enter. After that, you get introduced to the big bad you must vanquish for the town as your main quest, and then you're dropped right into the center of Grove on your adventure. Before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the main game loop and what makes this game so life-changing, I want to take a beat to talk about the town of Grove. This is by far the most simplistic yet straightforward way to do a hub world in any game I've seen. Everything you need is laid out right in front of you. Shops, storage chests right by the dungeon gate, quest givers peppered throughout ready to give you all of their money to kill 5 bats for them, and even a fishing hole. The shops themselves have everything you need for your adventure. You've got your magic items, your blacksmith, town healer, supply store, rare items, town enchanter, and finally, gambling. That's right, 2005 had you pay buttloads of gold for a magical item that may greatly benefit you in your build, or give you pure hot garbage. As with every other RPG out there, naturally a big part of this is your skills and leveling. Defeating monsters gains experience points which you use to level your character, and with that comes attribute and skill points that you can distribute to enhance your build. However, with Fate, they've also added a new system to this to add on to the normal progression. Enter the Fame system. As you complete quests on your journey, you gain fame from all the actions you do. By leveling your fame, you gain additional skill points that you can put into your different levels. Got extra gold weighing you down but not enough skill points to show for it? Visit the minstrel in the town of Grove, and for a paltry sum, he can help you buy your way to fame. It's just like social media. Like I had said previously, the main loop for Fate is simple. You delve into the dungeon deeper and deeper, completing quests for the townspeople. As you get lower and lower, the dungeon gets more difficult. As these floors are procedurally or randomly generated, they're different each time you go. And this alone was what made this game so awesome in a way. It was new every time. As it is a random layout each time, you always run into the issue of long, and I mean long, corridors that connect the rooms together. This is nothing new. Procedural generation dungeons use this frequently to fit the proverbial puzzle piece sections together in a semi-cohesive manner. It's either this design or one akin to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, where the rooms are all surrounded by a large atrium in the middle. How this can be an absolute pain is when you're looking around for a lost item that is hidden in one of these corridors. Thank goodness for the show items toggle, because I would never have been able to find them as a kid if they were left in the dead-end corner. Oh, that's where they left it. But come on, dungeons are only as interesting as the beasts you find in them, right? Fate has a whole treasure trove of different enemies one can face. You have your basic D&D inspired ones like goblins, ogres, and imps. Then for some more exotic flavors, unicorns, spiders, griffins, and others. Not only that, but some of the creature races have their own variants that would have different strengths or weaknesses or power levels. Some were even more apt for spellcasting rather than brute force combat, opting to attack from a distance. With all of these creatures, there has to be some way to take them out, right? That's where the combat of Fate comes into play. For your character, your basic options are melee, magic, and ranged attacks. Where the numbers really start to take hold is with the creature's resistance as well as a little bit of random chance. If this is starting to sound a whole lot like the popular tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons, you would be correct. At the end of the day, the combat boils down to hold down the mouse button on the thing until it dies. Unless they have a higher dex, then good luck, because you're going to miss 90% of your attacks. Doesn't that just remind you of another beloved RPG classic where your attack hitting was based on skill level against the dexterity and armor rating of your opponent? And that's one instance where Fate can be challenging on the lower floors. If you get surrounded, your health can drop very quickly. If you do end up dying, however, respawning comes down to player choice, meaning what you give up in exchange for death. This can vary from experience and fame, some gold and you're sent to a random floor, or all of your gold and you're sent 3 floors up. The choice is yours. Choose your fate. In Fate, much like other fantasy RPGs, magic can be utilized by anyone, not just people with certain aptitudes. You have your attack magics, such as Fireball, Frost, and Thunder, which each have their own little AoE flavorings to them, defensive magics that buff your character or heal them, and charm magic, which is about everything else from identifying magical objects to opening portals, to even summoning armies of rats or the undead to do your bidding. But don't expect to be able to summon dragons right out the gate. The spells you can learn scale with your magical skill, as well as your skill level in the specific school of magic. Creatures can also cast spells of their own, debuffing you or summoning creatures to add to their numbers to try and overwhelm you. The more powerful the creature, the more powerful the spells they can cast, and the more likely they will debuff you for an easier kill. For your pet, it's all melee attacks at a fixed damage output. This of course still factors in the numbers from earlier, whether or not they hit, but that's a given. Mostly though, pets are used to draw aggro from other monsters to allow you to focus on taking each of them out one at a time before you get killed. Now you may ask yourself, how can a small dog or cat take out this giant demon cow? That's where the transformation system comes into play. Pet transformations are a way for your pet to temporarily gain major stat boosts as well as change form. If you're walking up to a crowd of monsters that you know are likely going to destroy you, popping a fish into your pet's mouth can allow you to gain the upper hand for the fight. Along with that, based on the size of the fish, your pet can stay in that form for longer. Sometimes even permanently if you really want to have a brain beast as a pet. Pets aren't only just used in combat, they have a whole inventory space you can store items in for selling, and you can always send them back up to town to sell the goods and come back with that sweet, sweet gold. Of course, there has to be some incentive to diving into these dungeons rather than satiating your bloodlust, right? There's a veritable treasure trove of loot to get along your quest. These vary from weapons, armor, jewelry, gold, gems, and etc. Not only that, but each item has different tiers of enhancement, from the mundane to the unique artifacts you can straight up pull out of a fish's mouth. As a kid, I'd always take items that had the highest number of effects even if they added nothing to my build. Eventually something would work. In some cases, you can even find statues of fate, ancient anvils, or ancient tomes. These items are a random chance for either obtaining gems, enchanting items, or gaining skills respectively. But be careful, because you may just have a stroke of bad luck and have to fight a high-level monster or even have items be cursed. It's all in the name of the game, though. See what I did there?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
After staggering your way through the dungeon and making it to the big bad, the exact same thing you've been doing all along happens. No real fanfare, no epic battle, just more of the same combat you've come to know and love. But congratulations, you saved Grove! Time to get more rat-killing quests. After this point, you have 2 options. You can either A, retire and pass on an item to your descendants, or B, continue on forever. With option A, the item you pass on gets augmented stats for the next character, and you start with that item in your inventory. So why does any of this matter, or should matter? This game was my first real introduction into the fantasy genre of games. It made me want to go outside and run around in the woods in my backyard with a large stick that I pretended was a sword. This game was what got me hooked on similar titles like Skyrim or Fallout, where the possibilities were only limited to my imagination. Not only has Fate influenced my taste in video games to a degree, it also has gotten me into Dungeons & Dragons and introduced me to close friends because of it. Has it aged well 20 years later? Kind of. It's more of a nice wheel of cheese rather than spoiled milk. It's still a fantastic game that did a lot right and did it well while keeping it simple. But that's just it. It's simple. Once you've played it enough, you start to see where some of the ideas begin to repeat themselves. Quests are the same basic ideas, just with different items to fetch or monsters to slay. Do I still play this game today despite the simplicity compared to other more fleshed out RPGs? Heck yeah, I do! Even if the base game is old and repetitive, plenty of mods exist to help make the game a bit more bearable. All the game files are stored in unpackaged form as well, so you can edit or mod them however you feel to add your own flavoring to an already great game. Even so, there's 3 other games in this amazing series to go through as well. All of them are available now on Steam and work on modern hardware with just a few settings tweaks that are well documented. Not only that, but with the 20th anniversary happening this year, a whole remastered edition of the game with all 4 titles is coming to modern systems, and I couldn't be any more excited being such a longtime fan of this series. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some more rats to slay. Hey there everybody, Jacob here. I just wanted to take a quick beat and thank you all so much for watching this video. I've had this in the works since about 2019 when I wrote the script. I just never had any kind of editing chops necessary to create the video, but I'm very glad that I now have that so I can actually bring what I've wanted to bring to life for so long. I'm really excited for Fate Reawakened to come out. The developers came out while I was editing this video and said it's coming out on March 12th. So your boy is absolutely going down back into the dungeons once again. I may review it. I don't know. I'm excited. I may just play it for myself. I don't know yet. But at any rate, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe if you're not to see more good content such as this. See ya!